Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. It's been a minute since I talked to you guys, like 24 hours at least. We're gonna get right into it. We have a Lieutenant Surge's Magneton, first edition PSA 10, sell for $330. We have a Koga's Ditto, first edition PSA 10, sell for $307. Koga's Ditto, not the normal Ditto from the Fossil set. Koga's Ditto, first edition PSA 10, record price point of $307. You could have gotten the first edition PSA 10 for like $70 2 years ago, and now it's 307. That's fucking. And obviously, we have some Pokemon cards that, yeah, they're growing. They're doubling, they're tripling in a couple of months because that's what's happened this last year. Maybe that growth will continue. It might stagnate. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, listen, guys, with stocks, generally, 9-10% is considered decent rate of return. Return that, you put those returns into more and compound interest, which is great. If you're doing 15, hell, if you're doing 20% a year in stocks, you're considered a god. You're considered someone that should work for Warren Buffett. You might even surpass Warren Buffett. 20% a year in stocks is ridiculous. That is god tier skill level. But Koga's Ditto, a Ditto, like not just the normal Ditto from Fossil set that has grown over the years, but it's just not a very good Pokemon. Not it's very unique. There's that conspiracy saying that all Ditto are just failed clones of Mew, and I think it's a cool Pokemon. It's not very strong. You have those comic books where you have this Charmander that is getting, that befriends like a Tyranitar and a Hitmonchan and a Dragonite, but it's really, it's the dad. It's the dad, and the dad's a Ditto that is turning into all these Pokemon to fight for this Charmander, and eventually, as the Charmander grows up, Charmeleon, Charizard, the Ditto says, don't forget to visit your mom, which means that, that Charizard was bred with that Ditto. The Charizard either died or left or the trainer took it away, whatever it is. And, that does stimulate a lot of feels because that's something that happens. There's a lot of things that in Pokemon that we really don't talk about, that we don't address, that we force these Pokemon to have eggs, we force them to breed, shiny breeding, we force them to, in generation 2 you could breed, like let's say you have a Raticate and let's say a Growlithe or an Arcanine, and you breed it, and so let's say it's a female Growlithe. Pretty much any Pokemon in generation 2 will become a male version of what the female is. So if it comes out a male Raticate, let's say you want a Rattata that learns Flame Wheel, you have that. But also, you could breed that son with the mother. Sick as fuck, but that's what can happen. And a lot of times, and again, I'm going off on a tangent here. I apologize for that. I'm a little tipsy right now. There's some things that aren't really talked about, that's kind of just left to the side. Ditto being one of them, that they're used. They are just used, to breed Chinese. And I have a lot of sympathy for Ditto because that's a sucky situation. That sucks. That's almost Pokemon rape. And, I think Ditto's a cool Pokemon. Again, failed clones of Mew. It's something that didn't ask to be born. It wasn't intended to be born. Like, that's not what happened. It's like, if you ever see the movie Twins, where they want to put all of this genetic, great material of, tall, good-looking, intelligent muscles into Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it happens. He's like, a beautiful person. But then, a subsect of that was just Danny DeVito came out. And in that, he was just all the leftover genetic crap that was left over from the Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's essentially what Ditto is, if you believe that theory. But for whatever reason, people don't see that, and they're just like, oh, it's a shitty Pokemon. It can kind of turn into, what's in front of it, and maybe it has some attacks, and it's cool, it's interesting, but, a lot of people don't really use it for battles. They don't use it in the Pokemon trading card game. They don't use it in a lot of stuff, so it's not really something that's worth a lot. And the reason I'm driving this point home is because despite all of that, despite the fact that it is not a very well liked Pokemon, it is definitely not loved. It's like, okay, maybe they might get the card to complete the set. Despite all of that, it still increased 4 to 5 times, like 4 to 500% for this card that not a lot of people really want to get. It's not a coveted card, not a coveted Pokemon. And you're still getting 400% minimum in 2 years. It's just insane. And it's just something that you don't see in the stock world. Something that 400% in a year, even in 5 years, like, whoa, that person knew what he was doing. But this card that not a lot of people like, that's still going, it's insane. Sorry, just moving on past that. Giovanni's Gyarados, first edition PSA 10, another one from Gym Challenge, something that I think should be a $1,000 card eventually, sold for $693. I do think that's undervalued. Because if you have a PSA first edition PSA 9 Misty's Gyarados selling for $220, that's a 9. Let's say the 10 gets $600 to $800 minimum. That card has 222 PSA 10 copies. Giovanni's Gyarados has 100 PSA 10 copies less than the Misty's Gyarados. So yeah, that's definitely undervalued. Entei first edition BGS 9. 9.5 centering. Everything else is 9. Is 9.5 centering. For $455. Chansey first edition base set BGS 9. That sold. All right, so 8.5 centering, 9.5 edges and surface. The only one thing that was a 9, outside the edges, surface, and centering was I forget what it is right now again. But either way, that sold for $738. Basically PSA 9. That's some of what the Clefairy sold for, like $1,100. It's record price point. And Vaporeon first edition PSA 9 Jungle Set $445. This one we had a pre-release Clefable. This was a PSA 6, but it also had a raw Misty Seadra and Dark Gyarados. Both of those were unlimited, and a raw first edition Aerodactyl, and it was a pre-release. Sold for $320. Let's say if those cards were near mint condition, let's say a PSA, even PSA 7, PSA 8, let's say there's $100 between those other 3 cards. Pre-release Clefable PSA 6 for $220. That's a good deal. I think that's a good deal. There's not a lot of cards of those. We have a Dark Vileplume first edition PSA 10, sold for $340. It wasn't a Dark Persian that sold. It was Dark Persian from 1997. It's basically a dark version promo, from I think 2000 or 1999, but it's Japanese, it's non-holo, and the only way you could get it was if you got this Trainer magazine. It was Trainer magazine, it was Fan Club Volume 3 magazine, and there is 14 PSA 10 copies of that. There's not a lot of copies in the Pop Report at all. So this one, being a raw copy, it's probably going to grade like an 8, maybe a 9. So for $62, that's very, very good, because again, there's not a lot of those cards out there. Again, Dark Persian, Japanese promo, you'll be able to find on the Pop Report, you'll be able to Google it. Shining Tyranitar first edition PSA 9, sold for $1,025. Record price point for that. That's insane. Umbreon first edition BGS 9.5, and out of that 9.5, BGS, the Surface got a 10. The surface, that everything was 9.5, the Surface got a 10. So for $2,900. Now there's also I got an offer, the same Umbreon from Neo Discovery first edition PSA 10, $3,500. Should I have bought it? I should have, but I have, the money that I have in the bank, pretty much everything is going to go towards something next week that's going to make me a lot of money. This, I can't justify doing this and doing that and missing out on the other thing that's going to make me a lot of money. It's going to make me 30% on my money in a year, which again, this might as well. This might very well, but I can't do that, only $3,500, just to be okay, hey, maybe it grew 50% in a year, but then I have to sell it to realize those profits. Whereas what I'm doing, over the next year, that's going to basically guarantee me 30%. Okay, nothing's guaranteed in life, but Shining Kabutops, first edition PSA 10, sold for $955. That should be a $1,000 card as well. Basically is right now. Misty's Gyarados first edition PSA 8 sold for $125. So, like I said before, Misty's Gyarados PSA 9 sold for $220 something. The 10's going to be a lot, so Giovanni's Gyarados should definitely be a lot. Shining Noctowl first edition PSA 10 sold for $700. Every Shining card should be $1,000. First edition PSA 10 should be $1,000 minimum. Neo Destiny Miracle Energy first edition PSA 9 sold for $180. We have a light Togetic from Neo Destiny as well. First edition PSA 9 sold for $290. Those 10s are very, very rare, so I think the 9 is undervalued. Erica's Venusaur first edition PSA 9 sold for $470. I got an offer for mine for $650 like a week ago. I didn't take it because I even only have it for $700. It's not like a whole hell of a lot more is gonna come out. Eventually it'll get there, and that's fine when it does. I only have one left. Rocket's Hitmonchan first edition PSA 9 sold for $164. So the one about a week ago sold for $177. This is $164. Again, tiny bit of $13. Not really that much of a retrace, but it is. Even still, that 10 is undervalued at $400. We had a Dark Magneton first edition PSA 9 sold for $270. That should be higher as well. Erica's Dragonair first edition PSA 9 sold for $285. We had a Nidoqueen Jungle Set first edition PSA 9 sold for $207. Aerodactyl Fossil first edition PSA 9 sold for $114. Flareon from Jungle Set first edition PSA 9 sold for $355. We're going to ascend with this. Vaporeon first edition PSA 9 sold for $425. And a Jolteon first edition PSA 9 sold for $451. Lieutenant Surge's Raichu first edition PSA 10. I don't know how many bids it had on it beforehand, but there was a buy it now for $350 sold. And I thought it would because the other two sold for like $390 something, $380 something. So that makes sense. It sold for $350. And a Victory Bell first edition PSA 10 sold for, I just closed it, I don't know. Sold for $746. That's a record price point for that Victory Bell for the Jungle Set. I'm so tired. You guys know what I did last night. I gotta bounce. I love you all. I'm gonna take a huge nap. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.